So I was a little offended as well, and we'll agree to this. I don't mean to be offensive, I apologize.
Okay, thank you.
But I do get frustrated. We just started into an area going out to the
I just took advantage of the gap in the conversation. So when you're going to leave the meeting, that's what Oh, I wouldn't keep ever that way. Oh my God, that's a child. But then when it happened, I'm okay with it. I'm gonna steal something. I'm gonna put it up there with the baby. I just couldn't. It's just. We're done. It's procedure. It's just procedure. Man, the rest of this thing should get the rest of this meeting should go quick. The rest of this meeting should go quick. You still can't hear me. You know, did you know you're that ugly or not?
I hear the people behind me.
I've been saying to what? But then I said, you got damn ugly you are.
I heard that.
Oh, man.
All right, we're good. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for indulging me on that. And I appreciate, once again, that we have moved forward in a major way in our work towards getting something done there in Melissa Park. It has been a long time coming. Item number. Oh, yeah, that's right. We did have one more request for a moment on the park. Mr. Acker.
I'd also like to make a motion that we accept the memorial mural wall that will be presented by the community group from the Ohio area neighborhood for our approval.
Do I hear a second?
So rephrase that for me, please.
Thank you. I was trying to figure out how to word it.
May I?
It's making a motion to accept the memorial wall, memorial mural wall
How about that?
that the Citizens Committee will present to the commission for final approval.
That's good. Do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Eckert, a second from Commissioner Rutledge to approve a memorial mural wall as in concept which will be presented by the citizens group, for final approval. Something along those lines. You can restate that however you want, come in minutes, we'll clean it up. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, I'll call the vote, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Commissioner Eckert, for reminding me of that. Okay, new business. Approval of debris removal contract. Over to you.
Okay. We recently had a hurricane.
We did.
And we had a considerable amount of debris. We have moved forward. As you know, we had several special meetings to discuss how we were going to proceed. Tonight we have a contract with Big Dog Sitewood LLC. It is patterned after a competitively bid contract accepted by the county in the year 2020 from Crowder Gulf. In that contract, they have 3 levels of service. Level 1 being the least destructive hurricane. Level 2, more severe, and finally level 3, catastrophic. The county is accepting Crowder Gulf to work for them under level 1 conditions for vegetative debris. They have accepted Crowder Gulf to work with them on construction and demolition material removal under category 2, more severe, but that really only applies to the coast, and we don't have any construction and demolition debris, so it's a moot point for us. So our contract with Big Dog is for only vegetative removal, and the vegetative removal will be taken to Mitchell Park, where it's being burned and removed. The price that was accepted by the county under the competitive bid process was $7.60 a cubic yard, and that is complete, including fuel and manpower, drivers, the whole thing. And the price we have from Big Dog is $7.57, 3 cents per cubic yard less, which we appreciate. And that is up for your consideration this evening. In this particular resolution, I might add, there is also provisions for approving the hiring of temporary employees under the necessity mandated by FEMA. Where we keep copious records of all of our activities if we intend to apply for reimbursement of costs, which we of course are. So you'll see item B is, because of that, actually redundant. If you approve the resolution in item A, you will cover both A and B. I think that's really the presentation. We do have Mr. Big Dog himself is here this evening. If you have any questions about what he's been doing for 4 days, I know what he's doing, but if you'd like to hear from him, that's fine. From my standpoint, we simply need to have the resolution adopted so we can proceed. Then incidentally, the resolution is backdated to, correct, to the beginning of the hurricane.
The agreement.
The agreement, not the resolution, the agreement. So it covers all the expenses we've incurred since the hurricane hit the city. And again, it's a rather laborious process to go through. The actual removal of the debris would be accomplished very quickly and very painlessly if it hadn't been for the procedure set up by FEMA if you intend to be reimbursed. But then that's the problem I have here. I will tell you that we are almost complete with the first round of debris removal. We have a little bit more tomorrow. We estimate the costs right now for debris removal to be around $60,000 to $65,000, which is about the same or slightly less than those for Irma. And that does not include some of the cost of the burning pit and monitoring the burning pit and the activities at that location. And instead, the price given by Big Dog LLC, was actually less than Crowder Bell contract for the burning process, so we save money in that bid as well. We do have a couple of things coming up. There will be a week of simply laying off the debris collection period, which will allow citizens time to bring stuff from their yards and to the street. We'll make another pass and collect in about a week that material. And we also will have a separate contractor coming in probably early next week to remove hangers and leaners. These are trees that are leaning and probably will fall eventually, or are dead branches in the trees that as soon as the tree weakens to the point, those huge branches will come down, so we want to remove them before they come down without notice. We have a list already of 9 of those within the city, and we would ask the citizens to pay particular attention to trees in their neighborhood, in their yard, to make sure that these broken off branches that are simply hanging and captivated by the trees are noticed so that they can be removed, because they will be dangerous when they dry out and come down without notice. So I guess with that, if you have any questions, we're ready.
On the hanging limbs of how far into the residential property are you allowing them to go?
The material should be brought down to the street, even though if the citizen has,
I'm talking about the ones that are called the widowmakers that are still stuck up.
oh yeah, we actually should not go outside of the right of way. FEMA is very strict, you should not do that. And we have followed the vice mayor's, we're gonna put the vice mayor's words up in gold letters somewhere.
Wait, be careful with that.
Don't split hairs.
Don't split hairs.
Yeah, this
Okay,
is not the time to split hairs.
it's not the time to split hairs.
But we don't want to
Thank
do it in a public session on a recording. But anyway,
Because I've got a couple that are pretty far in on the property, and I had the area marked so that people know, warn them about being in that area.
one of the nice advantages to having a local contractor with local subs is, you know, they're dedicated to the community. They've been here very quickly. As an example, and I also want to note this too, there are a number of streets within the city, as you're aware of, Main, Lakeview, Summit, portion of the Summit, which are county responsibilities. We've asked them if we can clean them, and they don't want us to. They will wait for their contractor. And as you see, we're almost completely clean, and those streets still have major limbs and tree trunks and everything else along the roadway. So it is nice to have your own crew and the ability to promptly respond and clean up the community. We've had a number of very nice comments from citizens on the speed at which we've attacked the problem. And again, we're going to be coming back for a second go at it in about a week after things have had a chance to calm down. So any other questions? I'm sorry. There's a long answer for a short question. I'm sorry.
That's okay, if any citizen asks me, I got the answer for them.
So we have a resolution, and you want us to vote on the resolution first, or the contract first, or the?
I'll read the resolution by title. The resolution actually approves the Big Dog contract.
Right.
It also approves the contracts with the 5 individuals to be hired, which are passed, and the resolution has blanks where the names of those 5 people will be added for approval. They can type their name in or whatever. So this one resolution is really going to approve A and B. Agenda item A and agenda item B. Okay.
Go ahead. Yes, please, sir. If you would read that by title.
Okay. Resolution number 2022-13 by title only for first and only reading. A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Lake Helen, Florida, approving the debris removal contract with Big Dog Site Work LLC and temporary employment of monitors providing an effective date.
Do I have a motion?
Move to approve resolution is read.
Second. I have a motion from Vice Mayor Connell, a second from Commissioner Eckert to approve resolution 2022-13 upon first reading. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. So now, having done that, you're saying we have just approved all three, basically.
You have approved the Big Dog contract, and you've approved the hiring of those 5 individuals, pursuant to their signed contracts that are attached. And it will, they won't technically be terminated, I was sitting there thinking that, because technically you're the ones who terminate. Staff will decide when they're no longer needed once the work is done, and their contract will expire.
Right. Okay, excellent.
That's a boatload of paperwork for something that just seems so simple and routine here in town.
Yeah, you're right.
That's the federal government.
I get it.
It's, you know, we can talk a long time about that, but
Sure.
they spend more money on preventing fraud than personally.
Well, I understand.
Yeah, it is remarkable. It truly is.
We've gotten good at it.
We have.
What'd you learn, city administrator,
Well, what?
about getting good at picking up all the debris after a class or a Cat 1 category?
First thing I learned was don't wear a suit.
Don't wear a suit. Probably not a bad idea to,
The second thing I learned was Mercedes-Benz was very silly on being on leaves.
not let's have a couple of logs in the trunk.
It's, actually, I thought we had a very good team, both administratively and contract, we worked extremely well together. The evidence is the fact that the city was cleaned up in 3.5, 4 days. Again, we're gonna come back and have another go at it. We did some preventative work up front. We cut a canal ditch that allowed a pipe underneath Michigan, or Orange, I guess Orange at that one, to drain Lake Helen into Lake Harlan. And that kept Lake Helen from overflowing, because we had one support.
Still draining that creek.
So that preventative work really paid off. We still have things that citizens are concerned with, we're checking out every time we call.
If I got another question, follow up, may I?
Yes, please.
What are you gonna do with the county of Illusion? How are we gonna get these county roads cleaned, and when are they gonna tell us to go ahead and do it and send us a bill?
Well, we have, matter of fact, Alan and I talked about that briefly today. At some point, and if you want to leave it to my discretion, that's fine. We simply are gonna have to clean them up and up. And I don't know what that is, but, they're gonna become an eyesore. And we've asked them to come in immediately and clean them up, and we haven't heard back from them, so I'm not encouraged. But at some point, we'll simply have to do it ourselves.
Have you talked to your counterpart with the county manager, Mr. Reckenwald?
No, I haven't, but I have excited. It's good. I met a nice gentleman in town who has a great connection with that person.
Who's that gentleman?
Gene, Gene Palmetier. Thank you.
But he's retired from the county.
Yes, yes, but he's also a friend.
So, I don't mean any disrespect when I ask this question. So in your position as city administrator precludes you from just calling George direct?
No, I could.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I would, but, you know, there are advantages and disadvantages of being a small city.
Okay, all right.
And,
What does that mean?
I mean, sometimes it's your favorite and sometimes it isn't.
But we gotta get the stuff off the road.
Oh, absolutely. And it's just a matter of how long our tolerance is to seeing that material on the road.
Okay.
I suspect if it's not gone by the end of next week, when we start our second go at it, we'll include it in the second go.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. And now we move on to item 9. I do have one blue card on item 9. Derek, are you here? Yeah. Oh, well, come on up. We're gonna go ahead and start with whatever comment you had, so that we can know how to proceed from there. And you would state your name and address for the record.
Ron Fair, 451 West Michigan Avenue. I've come to the council before on the price of having a historic board, or having the gentleman, Mr. Morales, help the board. But, you know, I'm looking at what we're getting presented, 3 fences, and somebody wants to block in their garage with a window. We have a qualified historic board that can make these decisions and just bring them in when they have a tough one. I mean, it's just ridiculous to keep on putting out city money on this. And then you're gonna say, well, the homeowner's paying for it. Well, these fences, I don't know how much you get charged. I think it's $200 for some building. Well, we can use that $200 elsewhere instead of paying for fancy pictures designed by Morales. I mean, they have to present their lots, they gotta present their fences and material. And we've got pattern books that we have that we spend time on. Just let the historic board take care of it. And while I'm up here, we were just talking about the debris removal. Will we get reimbursed for that if we take over Volusia County property?
No.
No, then I would suggest, just let us set the Volusia County gets away.
So I understand. We do have to have an agreement with them before we pick that up. If we get that agreement, then yes, we can pick it up and simply build them.
And build it.
But we gotta do it, we don't wanna get the cart before the horse.
Before you leave, sir, before you leave, how would that information be presented to the commission, or would it be presented to the commission? If those minor roles were transferred to you, transferred to the board, I should say, then how is that product presented to the commission, or would it be presented to the commission?
Just like it was before, you had Mr. Morales.
So that was Ariel Faith that presented the very, very same thing. You're
So that's the
suggesting.
board can present it.
Sir?
The board can present it, just in the same format. We reviewed these 3 projects, we agree or disagree, or adding these contingencies or whatever.
The city administrator, there's some merit to that.
I know the HPB relies heavily on Mr. Morales, and I think he does an excellent job. I would point out, again, and I think it was alluded to, that the money that we pay to Mr. Morales does not come from city funds. It comes from accumulation of fees that are paid by applicants to the HPB. So it really costs the city nothing. Doesn't mean we should waste the money, but the HPB does rely heavily on that advice. And it's sometimes, you know, for expenses, it's kind of a no-brainer. But when you get homes, brand new homes, or major additions, there are significant questions and appropriateness. They've been helped, I think,
I
tremendously.
don't think he's indicating that, a simple window, a simple door, a simple shutter. I'm not in my area
The
here.
swimming pool,
Yeah.
he's approving swimming pools in the woods like hell. These people are putting nice pools in. You should have no time spent hourly billing us for that. And that these homeowners aren't
But we
paying.
kind of, and I'll let me weigh in, and I'm not being disagreeable, just kind of looking at the history of it a little bit. Prior to Ariel Faith, we were flying without a net and flying blind as far as having any real professional input on the process. We did have a board.
We had a great board. We
I
had,
understand, and I'm not degrading them at all, I'm just saying.
we got builders on board. We got Mark Shuttleworth. Excellent quality people. So
No, I'm not demeaning that at all. What I'm saying is we started out with very little professional support for that board. We moved into Ariel Faith, who provided a kind of an intermediate level, and now since her departure, we've moved Mr. Morales, and it's gone to a much more professional and much more heavily weighted and expensive process. And I'm just saying that the pendulum has swung a long way. I have heard talk from numerous people, not just you, sir, that the pendulum may have well swung too far. And maybe we should try and ease it back in the other direction. And I have been looking at that and been thinking about that, and I'm hoping that we as a commission can look and think at that. Certainly that's what we're here for, is to think about things like that. I don't think we're gonna make a major change tonight unless somebody has plans that I don't know about. But we do need to be thinking about that, and you're right, just because the citizens, because it doesn't cost the city itself money, doesn't mean it's not costing our citizens money, and that matters. Mr. Eckert, looks like you're ready to weigh in.
Didn't when we had the contract with Mr. Morales, have it set up to where minor issues would be taken care of by staff and or the board instead of tying up Mr. Morales' time and reduce some of the costs?
Yeah, minor changes, correct, are handled by the staff.
Could you
We have, I know the staff
Could you
level
quantify
too.
that?
I'm sorry.
Could you quantify that?
What does minor
What does
mean?
minor mean?
What is minor?
Is it defined?
It's like color, if you want to change the color, we don't put you through the whole process again. If you want to move your fence 5 feet.
Is it formally defined?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And I will say, in Mr. Morales' defense, although I don't think he necessarily needs it, he's doing exactly what we've been asking him to do. You're right, the city has created this, not Mr. Morales. So, we don't, in my opinion, we're not blaming you. We're just reassessing the process. And if you would like to have some conversations with the city administrator as to how we can maybe refine that and maybe bring some of these costs down, that would be helpful. I don't know where there might be some give and take in that. As a professional, you might. So we could have that discussion certainly in-house, and this might be a good impetus to get that started. Thank you.
Well, I was thinking maybe along the line of the fences, because we do have ordinances that describe what fences can be installed already. And it's something staff or the historic board or even the PLDRC could take and read what we've got, approve those instead of having it go through Mr. Morales.
Well, we have before us 3 certificates of appropriateness. Do I have a motion to approve the recommendation of the Historic Preservation Board? Oh, yes, we're doing the quasi judicial hearing, which means, do we have any ex parte communication that needs to be?
No.
I've had no conversation.
And I have had none, so thank you for that reminder. We have all now declared that we've had no ex parte communication, which is important. Thank you. Do we have a motion for approval or denial of the recommendation of the board?
I make a motion, we approve the certificate of appropriateness for 260 Euclid Avenue, 376 West Park Street, and 126 Water Street.
Have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Eckert, a second from Vice Mayor Connell, to approve the recommendation as presented by the Historic Preservation Board. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
Item 10.
Yes. Item 10, public forum. I have 3 cards for public forum. First is Nancy Weary.
Nancy Weary, 35 West Delaware. Kind of on the fly, but I wanted to bring it up now. I would like for our commission and our city to consider renaming the equestrian center, the Betty O'Loughlin Equestrian Center. I don't know of anyone in the city who is more deserving other than Betty. She has no idea I'm proposing this, she's not even here in town. She has served this community in so many capacities and at every age for over 25 years, about 25 years. I think it would be a worthwhile consideration, and I would appreciate you guys, it's a lot.
Thank you. Our next card is from Charlene Bishop, and we can revisit any of these. Our next card is Charlene Bishop and then Ron Perry. Sorry, Charlene, I forgot to give you a heads up as to who we're going to be next.
Charlene Bishop, Newport Avenue. After looking at the price of that park and how much the engineering and everything was for it, I started looking at some other things from bills from the engineer. I don't know if y'all know what the budget for engineering for this year was, but it was $30,000. To date, we've spent $252,765.16 on engineering projects. I don't see any other than the park, in Virginia Drive. I really couldn't find any paperwork details of what has been engineered. I know we spent $10,190 to have the engineer lay out a plan to landscape City Hall. $10,190 on a plan in the environment. I guess that's just to tell us what we need to do. And then I guess we'll go out to bid to a landscaper. I don't know why that didn't happen in the first place, but, it's just a little concerning that it's kind of like it's not in the budget. And when I notice when they come here and ask for more money for something, nobody ever says, where's that money coming from? Was it in the budget? Well, no, because it was only $30,000 in the budget. So you're almost 100 times over your budget. Well, but anyways, I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. Maybe we could drill that back a little bit. Dial it back, whatever, because that's a big chunk of money right there. And like I said, I asked for the drawings for the landscape of City Hall, and they don't even have them yet. But he's been paid, but we don't have the drawings for what the landscape plan was. And so anyways, that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Bishop. Mr. Barrett, and then Kelly Cross will be next.
Ron Perry, 451 West Michigan. The storm, did quite a lot of damage, and we're doing a great job. Big Dog's doing a great job. But I understood that you guys had a readiness meeting before the day of the storm, before the storm. But during the storm, right after, we went down the generator. One generator wasn't operable for the well pump. They had a bad water pump that was known for 2 weeks. So during that meeting, did somebody say all the generators are ready to go so we don't lose water? And if that person said that, it needs to be brought up to attention that that's not what we want. We want somebody qualified to take care of our equipment and make sure we don't run out of water. The other question I got is, the retention pond over behind the Woods of Lake Helen, which I believe is owned by the Woods of Lake Helen. You drug a big canal that dumped on the High Street. And that's the lady that complains that her place gets flooded. But now the retention pond could not hold the amount of water that was designed to hold. And it does have a natural flow over on the backside of the wooded area to Ohio. So now we took out feet and feet of storage, we put it down High Street, across Ohio. We might have been able to contain all the water, we'll never know. But who permitted the digging of that canal and didn't even talk to the HOA? Because I talked to the board and there was no conversation to the Woods of Lake Helen.
That's a reasonable question as to, does the Woods of Lake Helen own that retention area? I don't believe they do.
We're certainly responsible for it.
Okay.
You know,
We can take care of it.
Yeah, it's their property. The particular problem is we cut that dike in order to be able to take the water from the woods that comes out of Washington, flows down High Street, and there is a hump in High Street that was forcing it over to the east side, and we wanted to divert it into the retention area. And once the retention area can no longer take the water, it will stay on the west side down to Ohio, hoping to alleviate the problems that we had on the east side. And I think the plan worked. We are filling back that particular dike. We're also putting in a storm drain that will go into that particular retention area, again to catch the water that comes out of the woods and goes down High Street. There really was a design flaw back in 20 years ago in the stormwater system dealing with the woods, that the water was not captured completely as it should have been. So nobody has bothered to make any issue of that. It's really probably because we approved the plans and we approved the construction, so we have to live with the issue that we neglected to correct it 20 years ago. So anyway, that's where it is today. It's going to be built back. Matter of fact, the contractor was supposed to start the beginning of this week, and it was down here yesterday, and hadn't started yet. That is going to be good.
So that's a reasonable question, and that's the first part of the answer, certainly, but I think we should have some additional conversations on this to find out, you know, how we're going in the future. I know we've got some engineering in the works, or I think we have some engineering in the works there, but I'm not sure if we're jurisdictionally maybe stepping over things that maybe we shouldn't. If we're re-engineering a retention area that's owned by the Woods Homeowners Association, maybe we need to look at that before we go much farther.
As I said, it was an emergency situation.
No, that I understand. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
It's not intended to completely redo the system and it'll be put back.
I believe we actually put more water on High Street and cause a problem because our retention pond couldn't hold all the water. It might have held the water if the canal wasn't put into it.
Yeah, the concept ended up backfiring on the city because the amount of water that we got from the storm was greater than what was expected. And it ended up filling up the area on High Street and going down somebody's driveway coming into the Schaefer yard anyway. Also, from what I understand, the storm drain concept going into it also will not work because the discharge pipe will be too low. And the storm water in the retention pond will just come up and bubble up through the storm drain instead of going the other way. I think it might be better for us to look at a different temporary situation until we do get the contract to re-engineer that whole area.
Again, you're absolutely right. Both the emergency cut of the dike and the work that was supposed to start at the beginning of this week were really designed to alleviate the flows coming out of Washington, going down High and ending up in the Schaefer's front yard. But we also knew that those were temporary features, both of them, both emergency and the other one. The real solution is much more expensive, and it will involve basically shaving off parts of High Street and redesigning the whole flow down High Street. But that is considerably more expensive, but in the works, the design's in the works. And it's one of the reasons we recommended a much more substantial stormwater assessment to to handle some of these major projects, that's just been one of them that we'll have to face in the future.
And one thing to keep in mind always is that stormwater retention, if you look at the specs on it, it says to handle the first X number of inches of rain, in an X, usually a 24-hour period. I think we exceeded pretty much all of those, so the fact that some of these didn't perform to hold all the water we just got, this just means they did what they said they would do and not above and beyond. So this was an exceptional storm. My last card is Kelly Craftsman.
Yes, 616 John Street, Kelly Preston. I just sent over some images to Dominique, and I think she's trying to pull them up. But I just sent over images of the retention pond with the dike cut out and how it dumped onto the Schaefer's property. And you can, are you able to add that, or is it not working?
Not one more.
Okay. You guys probably can't see it because it's too small, but this is the overflow. Okay, she's got one. This is the Schaefer's house and how the water has directly gone onto their house. The other image will show the retention pond and where the dike is cut out. Now that did not work out very well because it put them underwater. They already have issues with mold. And we're not acting fast enough to protect our citizens from this incident. We actually need doors for them. Okay, here's the next. Yeah,
Are we waiting in May?
Yeah.
Yes.
so if you, I think she's pulling up this one, where you can see it. I know it's really far, I don't know if you can see it or not, but in these, you can see that the house is actually an island. And this right over here you go. Now, this is a really good image because it shows what we did to their house. That retention pond would have not spilled over in that form to their house directly if it was not dug out.
Might have. That was a lot of rain.
It is a lot of rain, but it also, it might have had a little spillover, but it definitely wouldn't have come directly to their house the way it did.